All right, we good, chat. We good. We can see that. Solid. All right. So look solid. W's. All right. There are four types of people in this world: the players, the watchers, the wanderers, and the wanderers. It's basically this. Hold on. It's wanderers. Wanderers with ER. Okay. And wanderers. Right. Not to correct you or anything, but the Wanderers and the Wanderers. If life were a game of baseball, the players would be the people of teams on the field. They are the ones who will sacrifice and practice until they are best that they can be. They generally do what they love and love what they do. They reap the rewards of their efforts, and the players use their powers to make things happen. They reach within to that well of power that they have developed to get their desired results. The players take the risk and get the reward. So this would basically be like you said, your sports athletes. This would be the LeBrons, the Michael Jordans, the Giannis Antetokounmpos of the world, right? That's basically what this is saying. It's basically like the people who know their power and take advantage of that power, right? Instead of being scared and in the back lines, right? The watchers are the spectators sitting in the stands, watching others play the game of life, watching somebody else get the money, the recognition, and the girl, right? Everyone who is not on the playing field is a spectator. True watchers are the people that never try hard at anything. They may dream of being a player, but at the first signs of difficulty, challenge, or disappointment, they discard their dreams and scurry off the playing field of life, right? So, with that being said, that would be like the sports analysts that weren't NBA players, right? Like the people that be on ESPN and First Take and all that stuff. Those people, right? They may have had the chance to be, but things happen and stuff like that, right? So that would be like your Stephen A. Smiths, your Max Kellermans, right? It's their job to be a spectator, though, right? They get paid to say what they say, right? So no knock to them, but this is also a very depressing state to be in because you realize that you have the power, right? But when you're faced with difficulty, you run back into your comfort zone, and that's never where you want to be, right? Give me a second. Nah, you good. Like I said, I already know about this, bro. I already knew about this, so I know exactly where you are coming from this. Like, this is literally in this book. Like, it's like page 34 or some shit. Page 31. Literally, hold on. Page 31. You see it? The players, the watchers, the wanderers, and the oh shit, it's not focusing. I don't know why it's not focusing. L focus. The players, the watchers. Yeah. So it's in this book, right? So a good reference for this is strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. Mm, mm. That's so depressing. That's a very depressing state to be in. Knowing that you have enough power, but when they're faced with adversity, you just don't. The Watchers low key got the most torture because they understand they could be playing in the game. They understand that they're not playing and choose fear and weakness instead. Right? That's crazy. So instead of actually just going out and facing and just accepting all the smoke that comes with it, they cowered back into their. Mm-hmm. That's an amazing quote. Strong enough to have it all, too weak to take it. Mm. That's tough, right? Let me change the topic real quick. We're gonna go just chatting, just cause I don't want to be sitting in the elder ring if I'm not doing anything. All right, it's updated. We're good to go. All right, bet. So yeah, um, let me move this over a little bit just so y'all can see his face. Right, this is my shit, bro. I love shit like this. Here we go. All right. Sure enough to have it out 2 weeks to take it. Watch slow key. Okay, here we go. However, they understand that the game comes with championships and wins, but they don't seem ready to be injured. Are they ready to practice till they damn near drop to the foot? Are they ready to lose the game? Are they ready to be booed when they do bad? Right? All these hitting intangibles that come with things, right? The watchers have the most potential, yeah, because they're very observant, right? They can understand from different people's mistakes, but they don't take the leap, and that's the difference. The difference between the players, that's literally like the only difference, is the fact that the players take the leap and understand their own power, right? Because the watchers understand their power, but they just don't go into the comfort zone. They just don't leave the comfort zone, right? Or they do leave their comfort zone, but in the face of adversity, they run away, right? That shit is crazy. So to be a watcher is low key depressing. It's probably the most depressing, right? Out of all four of these, because you know you have the power, but at the same time you realize like whenever that adversity comes at you, you're just like, I don't want to deal with it. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to do it because all the stuff that comes with it, I wasn't really signed up for that. You just think it's going to be roses and cake, but in reality, to get to the top, it's a lot of stepping over thorns, tripping over yourself, and learning new things. Right? Are they ready to lose the game or ready to be booed? There are hidden obstacles that will always top the watchers until they truly accept everything that comes with being a player in the game. Exactly. You have to want all smoke that comes with this. Right? Being a watcher is undoubtedly more safer, more comfortable. See, there it is, comfortable, right there, comfortable. Because you once you're really in the game, things will become much more difficult and challenging. Facts. That's facts. That's facts. Continue on. It says, hold on, did I skip something? Go up. Continue on. It says that these wannabe players take their seats in the stands with carefully crafted excuses and explanations for not being in the game. Right. Uh, I wonder if there's a relation to level two in the watches. Well, I would say this is completely separate from the allegory of the cave because the allegory of the cave is more about reality, right? The allegory of the cave is more about how can I say this? Your perspective on things. It's a level of consciousness. Like I can see where you would draw the comparison though, right? I can see where you draw the comparison, and that comparison will more be towards like the wanderers and the wanderers, right? It's definitely different, but I can see where you tie things in, right? But you need to realize that these things are definitely separate entities, right? Continuing on, it says these wannabe players want to take their seats in the stands with carefully crafted excuses and explanations for not being in the game. So this is basically what I would say their subconscious having a defensive mechanism, right? In already in the arsenal to be able to. I lost my train of thought. They already have their subconscious already has this arsenal of defensive mechanisms in order to prepare themselves for if somebody was to attack them of why they aren't doing what they're doing. Why don't they get in the game and stuff like that. You see like this with like a lot of spectators on ESPN. They'll be like, well, I had a knee injury when I was in high school and tore my ACL, and that was basically it for me. When you see a lot of NBA players, granted they have healthier, better health departments and things of that nature in order to recover. But you see, like, Nightbot. Oh, okay, all right. So yeah, they'll be like, "Oh, I got this knee injury." Yeah, yeah, yeah. You definitely have the most excuses being a watcher instead of just accepting the smoke that comes with being a player. You know, carefully crafted excuses is facts. Carefully crafted excuses is the key here, right? They've already manufactured excuses in their mind, and they believe these excuses, and they stand on these excuses, right? Watchers often say, I should have done this, I should have done that, I could have that, and I could, but I've had a good life. Watchers might be depressed or hate themselves because they know they could have done more, they had more potential. The wanderers are people who are in the parking lot. This is a separate paragraph. Give me a second. This would be a separate paragraph, right? The wanderers are people who are in the parking lot outside the stadium where the game of life is being played. They hear the sounds of spectators, but they are not a part of the game. They know something is going on, but they must wonder what it is since they can't see. Wanderers learn about what's going on secondhand. that they live their lives responding to the outside stimuli and developing other people's programs, and they often see the world in terms of what could have, what would have, could have, and should have, right? So I forgot the reason. No, you good, bro. You good. The Wanderers. Okay, would have, could have, should have. Right. These are the people who tend to overthink. In my opinion, these are the people who tend to overthink things, and they overthink themselves into what I like to call analysis paralysis. Right. Just like Ty would say, he would say like you think yourself into inaction. Right. So you think yourself like a perfect example of this, right, would be like say you go to the grocery store, right, and you go down the cereal aisle, right, and you got all these different cereals in front of you. You got all these different cereals in front of you. You just don't know which one to, right, speak more about. Okay, all right, yeah, yeah, yeah. So you go down the cereal aisle and you got all these cereals in front of you, and right, you're sitting there and you're contemplating, well, I don't know which cereal I want to take, right? Instead of just grabbing a cereal and figuring it out later, they think themselves into a point of where they don't select the cereal at all. And they just walk away from the cereal and they regret that later on. And then by regretting it later on, that's where that, dang, I should have grabbed that bowl of cereal. I should have grabbed a box of cereal. But I thought myself out of it because I didn't know how, because you're experiencing so many choices, right? You're experiencing so many of these choices. So you realize like, dang, that's that analysis paralysis kicking in when you're thinking too much, right? You're thinking too much and you think yourself, you can use that analogy with females. There you go. See, women. Come on, there we go. You got me messed up, man. You got me messed up. Exactly. Exactly. You can definitely use that analogy with women. Instead of going out and, just talking to women, you overthink. What if she rejects me? What if this happens? What if? You see where the mind plays tricks on you. It's just like what if, should have, what if this happens? What if this happens? Instead of thinking about the what if, just see what happens. Right? You know? So just see what happens. Grab the box of cereal. If you don't like that box of cereal, at least you know you don't like that box of cereal now. You wouldn't have known you didn't like that box of cereal if you didn't grab that box of cereal in the first place. Right? That awareness. It's always about the mental. Yeah, man. It definitely is. And it's mental and spiritual, man. For sure. So, and it's depressing that I know a lot of people who live their lives like this. I know somebody close to me within my workspace that is like this, right? He's an overthinker. And I try to get it across, he's more of a timid guy. So it's like, hey, like, instead of staying in your head too much, just do it, right? But you can't tell anybody anything that's stuck in their mind. You know what I'm saying? It's hard for people to get out of that, right? So you just have to. You talk about me, bro? No, not you, Polly. Rule number two. Hey, bro, I'm not spinning anybody's business. I'm just giving a prime example, right? I'm just giving a prime example in my own life. You see what I'm saying? Because it's like it's a lot of people who overthink, and they overthink themselves into inaction, or they overthink themselves to a point where they just don't do anything at all, right? So, with that being said, we're gonna move on to the next paragraph. So, analysis paralysis, right? That's exactly what it is. It's analysis paralysis. You stop. You just stop doing because you've been so caught up in your thoughts, right? And you don't ever want to do that, right? The wanderers are people who are lost on the dirt road, to the freeway, to the parking lot outside of the game. They have no idea what is going on and no plans to find out. The wanderers is like thistles in the wind. They blow from pillar to post without goals, plans, or routes, ruled by their addictions and their appetite. They live life for the moment and nothing more. An example of this person is a person who parties every weekend and gets drunk to a ridiculous amount and smokes tree. I don't know what that is, and does drugs, right? Analysis paralysis, yeah, facts. So the wanderers, I know a lot of these, right? These are the people that just go with the flow. These people are very dangerous to your own well-being, right? Because these are the people that are probably going to have the most amount of fun as it pertains to what society wants fun to be dictated as, right? These are the people, like you said, parties every weekend and gets drunk, et cetera, et cetera. These are the people who, just live life. In a sense, people say they live their life day by day, right? Well, for me, I live my life decision by decision, right? And that's the difference. That's the difference between being a player and a wanderer, right? Because a lot of people just go with the flow and they just let the day carry them. They don't have any vision in life, they don't have any purpose, and they're distracted by how society wants them to be. That's a big major key right there, right? It's like they don't think for themselves. They just allow themselves to they just allow themselves to, just be carried by the wind, carried by the game of life, and life does whatever they want with them. Instead of living their life day by day, they should live their life decision by decision. For me, like I said, I live my life decision by decision. What does that mean for me? I realize that every decision that I make, every thought that I create can have an impact on my present and future moments, right? Every thought that I have, anything that I align myself with, can dictate how I carry myself in this present and future moments to come. What makes them not care? Well, to understand that, you would have to understand. Remember when I was talking about there are three levels? Well, there are more levels to the mental complexities, right? I see. I think this exists, but I don't know about having an organization of people define them because I think everybody has had each one of these moments, and one of these people are more complex to be put in simple boxes. Yeah, we're not. I'm not trying to categorize them, but we're basically putting them in a place of like this is how you're able to distinguish you know the differences in people, right? So when it comes to these wanderers, you have to understand that society has a place, right? It's like pieces to a puzzle, right? Society has a piece, culture has a piece, childhood has a piece, their parenting has a piece, right? All of these things add up to the person that they are today, right? Their experiences from the past to now all add up. This is what they call systems theory, right? Understanding the inner parts, right? Understanding the inner parts, right? To understand the whole, right? You have to understand the inner parts like a piece to a puzzle, right? The piece to the puzzle, right? Every piece is going to add up to a beautiful image at the end, right? That's what you want, right? But what type of piece is it, right? What type of piece is it? Is it a wanderer? Is it a wanderer? Is it a player, right? Is this piece like, how can I say this? Is this piece the piece that's ripped off on the edges that, you can barely fit it into it? Or is it the piece that's going to make that whole puzzle intact, and it's going to hold sturdy? Is it a solid base, right? And when it comes to that, right, with these wanderers, like I said, these people are very dangerous to people who are players or even watchers, right? Because they're gonna, I believe, right, that these people, like I said, have the most fun, right? Because they just let life take them wherever life wants them to go, right? But a person with purpose, a purpose with direction, isn't going to fall into that trap. The players are not going to fall into that because they realize they have that vision, right? They have that vision, they have that purpose for themselves. You know what I'm saying? So it's easy to see. It's easy to see those things, right? You're just like when I deal with people, right? It's like, let me grab some water real quick. So when dealing with those people, this is what I wouldn't want to like categorize these people, right? But this is like a low vibrational state of being, right? Because you don't have a purpose, you don't have goals, et cetera, et cetera. So you're living your life just according to whatever the day dictates, instead of having some sense of control, right? And that sucks, right? Because you're simply accepting life for what it is, right? And these people, you'll find them to be a lot more complainers, no emotional intelligence too, right? Because whenever the moment happens, either it's good or evil, like Exactly. No power over anything, right? They don't have any power over their emotions, their selves, like they're peer pressured easily. These type of people you really don't want to hang around because if you hang around, they say once you hang around a person for a certain amount of time, like you become that person. You become part of that person, or you become somewhat of that person. If you don't have your own set of morals, codes, and ethics, right? What you stand on, your purpose, etc., etc. Nonchalant in a very terrible way. Exactly, right? There's a difference between being detached in a powerful way. You're your five closest friends. Facts. That is facts, right? All of you guys together are going to, become this culture, right? It's a culture, right? It's a difference between the law of detachment, right? In a good way, in a positive way, as compared to just not giving a fuck at all, right? You consciously choose to detach as compared to just not giving a fuck, right? So, a perfect example of this in my life, right? When I go to work, I'm detached, right? I don't put any emotion and pride into my job because I realize for me, I see by working on myself, the external rewards, but I also believe everyone has it's called really about balance. Absolutely. I tend to be overexertive when it comes to my focus and my passion, though, and that's going to lead to the success that I have, right? So I actively choose. I'm consciously choosing to be detached from work because my internal validation trumps the external. I don't care for the rewards. I don't care for having the acknowledgement. As long as my impact, as long as my impact and my legacy, what I deem for myself to be worthy, nothing else really matters to me, right? Because I know at the end of the day that my moral compass is for the betterment of others, right? I use my voice to, and that's part of my passion is I want to inspire other people to be better versions of themselves. You see what I'm saying? Yep, it's over a bad thing though. I don't know. I wouldn't. I mean, because at some point it's hard to be in the present moment sometimes, right? Because you're always here and you're always thinking about what can I do to impact myself in a betterment way, right? It's kind of a double-edged sword, if you ask me, right? Because granted, I don't get to have the amount of fun that everybody else is having, but when I'm 30 and I'm with my feet up in Cabo, stacking M's and they're flat out broke because they've been partying all in their 20s, there's sacrifices, right? I have to sacrifice. It takes a determination. It takes, you know what I'm saying, that self worth, the self value in order to, keep yourself away from those things. So like I said, it's sacrifice. So you can't, you know, some things you're not going to be able to do in your 20s and other things you are going to be able to do, right? But it all depends on your purpose in life and where you want yourself to be. That's the biggest thing, right? And when it comes to, I think I briefly went over the wanderers, right? The people who wonder what go on, but actually don't try to figure it out, right? Um, some things are in your control, some aren't. Exactly, right? So when I detach from work, I realize that most of my superiors, they're going to make their own decisions, right? They're going to make everything that goes on at work what it is, right? And I have no control over that. So I detach myself from that feeling instead of being prideful, getting frustrated and upset because everything's not in my control. And as a person, I know my own personality type was an 8 on the Enneagram scale, right? I like having control, right? So, in order to counteract that, the law of detachment has been very beneficial in my learning process for myself, right? Because I realize um, some things are out of my control, right? So, how do I keep myself in line and continue to grow when I know that I want things to be inside of myself, right? I want a sense of control in everything that I do. So by detaching myself, I realize that a lot of things are not in my control. So what can I do to make sure I'm good on my end, right? And that ties into the systems theory and that puzzle piece, right? As long as my piece is intact, right, I'm doing my part. As long as my piece is intact, I'm doing my part. right? As long as I'm functioning in an efficient and orderly manner when it comes to my job, I'm doing my part. As long as I come home and reflect every single day and learn from my experiences, I'm doing my part. That makes sense? You know what I'm saying? Like, instead of worrying about the outside, the external things, I continue to take the lessons from the day when I go home, you know? And oh, my legs falling asleep, but because I'm sitting, I get to talking, I get chilling. But yeah, that's literally what I'm saying. It's like by releasing some sense of control, I gain more control of myself. I think that's what I wanted to get to. By releasing some sense of control out of the world, of the world, I gain more control of myself. Because if I'm always falling into the pit of getting angry and frustrated, because anger and love are two of the strongest emotions you can have, and lust too. Anger, love, and lust. Legs turning purple. That's what I'm saying. One of them was about to fall asleep on me, but anger, love, and lust, right? Those are three strong. Lust, your sexual desire, right? Your sexual desire. That's what lust is. It's basically like, when you see a female and you just like, bro, I want to send her to Dooney Land in the back of the Dooney van, straight to the gulag. Having a sense of control over that, right? That's why you see a lot of people talking about like semen retention and, no fab and all that other stuff, right? But at the core of that, it's just having a sense of control over yourself when it comes to these things. That's a man's biggest weakness. I think a man's biggest weakness can be his lust, his loss of control, and his emotional intelligence. Death de gulag. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So to have control of these urges, right? So fasting is one, right? Fasting is a great way to have some sense of control over yourself, right? Because one, I feel like it's more spiritual, right? Especially for me, like I'm a very spiritual person. So for spiritual people, right? It's kind of a way of serving God. Like my desires are less than what God wills. It's putting God on his pedestal as he's supposed to be and allowing yourself to submit and not fall into those natural desires that you have every single day, right? I'm not going to eat during sunrise and sunset. I'm not going to drink during sunrise and sunset. I'm going to fight my own mind in that regard because I know that God's purpose is bigger than my own. You see what I'm saying? So fasting is good, and just that whole I don't really care about the semen retention, no fat stuff, but having not falling into those sexual desires often, right? Because if you fall into those desires, you're always going to be, these are the people that you find always chasing women, you know what I'm saying? And going through whatever they go through, having 4 or 5 baby mamas because they can't control their sexual desires. You know what I'm saying? So you want to have that sense of control when it comes to things like, damn, she fine, right? You'd rather have, when it comes to a woman, you'd rather have soul food and not eye candy, right? You want somebody that's going to take you to a different place, right? Not just somebody who just looks good on your arm. Somebody that brings you a different perspective and reality, right? That's the type of woman you would want on your side. You would rather have soul food over eye candy. A lot of people fall into the trap of seeing a pretty face or a fat ass or a nice body and just go with the flow after that, right? But in order to find, that's why men fall for Cleopatra so much. Exactly. Exactly. A lot of people fall for Cleopatra because she was a very beautiful woman and she could seduce in a way that most men won't be able to see. You see what I'm saying? So, in order to understand yourself, you have to be in control. Exactly. She was a different experience, right? Her ability to seduce men was so different, right? So, the demonic rate, exactly. Yeah, she was a host. The demonic rate, exactly. She knew her sense of worth, right? She knew her, you know, and it's hard for a man who doesn't have control of his emotions and his natural desires. You know what I'm saying? it was hard for a man who didn't have control, emotional intelligence, control over his lust, to just fall into the trap. Yeah, it's low key messed up, but it's true. Like the way she seduced men, she was a pimp in woman form, and you don't run into a lot of people like that. You know what I'm saying? You don't run into a woman one who knows her place, who knows how to seduce men in a different way. So these level one thinkers, these surface dwellers, as Steve would call them, right? These surface dwellers would try to take a bite and wind up in the worst situation they've ever been in, right? So it like that stuff like that, man. Stuff like that is what's really crazy in the world because a lot of men don't have one, they're distracted. TikTok, Instagram is showing nothing but pretty women with bodies, and most, I guarantee you, 9 times out of 10, most of those women have no personality or that personality is terrible. No substance, just a beautiful body and a pretty face. And that's most of these women, bro. And I'm not trying to generalize women, right? There are very good women out there. But a lot of women live their lives based on external validation. You know a woman has more internal validation by the way she carries herself, right? The presence is different. The way she carries herself is absolutely different compared to 90% of these females. Women. 90% of these women, right? Validation. Yeah, yeah. And a lot of women will say, I don't seek validation, da, 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 but you can't listen to what they say. You almost got me again. You almost got me again, Ice. But a lot of people seek, a lot of women seek validation and then they'll try to counteract that and say, oh, I don't seek it, I don't seek it, but they're constantly checking the likes, they're constantly seeking who shared their post and all this other stuff. They got close friends. You see what I'm saying? They got close friends and shit. So, you have to look at their actions over there, you know. It's all about reading the actions over what they say because a lot of people are deceitful, deceptive. They'll lie right to your face. So, but yeah, dealing with these four types of people, those wanderers and those wanderers are going to be the ones you need to avoid. Unless you're really trying to change them. Actions over words every time. Every time. I'd rather you show me than tell me. All right. And that's a part of the game too. Like you can talk like a game, but action is where it's at. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, man, that's my little spiel on that 4 levels. I mean 4 levels, but the 4 types of players. You know what I'm saying? It's, but I feel as though I understand where you're coming from when it comes to the allegory of the cave, but these things are entirely different. These things are very different. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, that's pretty much all I got for that. But yeah, that's in this book. That's in this book. The 12 Universal Laws of Success, right here. W book, by the way. That's a W book. Uh,